An important piece of theater premiered in Philadelphia. James Baldwin's work is finally coming to life on the stage. We got to talk with two of the actors, and then we went and saw the performance. So here now is our interview, followed by our talk about the show. Enjoy. Coming to you from the dining room table at East Barbary Lane, welcome to a very special Pride edition of Full Circle, the podcast.
I am your host, Charles Tyson Jr.
And I'm your host, Martha Madrigal. And we have something really special going on during Pride Month.
I'm very excited.
I know, me too. Quintessence Theater world premiere adaptation of James Baldwin's groundbreaking novel, Giovanni's Room, has been extended through June 29th. It's playing on stage at the Quintessence Theater at the Sedgwick. And today we're going to talk to Midge, Nease, and Dito Van Reigersberg from the cast. Welcome to the Full Circle table.
Thank you for having us.
Good. You look good.
That's a loaded question, isn't it?
Well, right. In this world, it's a loaded question. But you're immersed in something that I think is really important. James Baldwin, one of my favorite queer writers ever.
Yes.
So much wit and wisdom and grit. And what a time to revisit it and be reminded of the stories he left behind.
Yes.
How's it been?
It's been great. I mean, I think Midge and I both actually get to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Midge, both of our characters are droppers of wisdom in different ways.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of the structure of the play in the way that it, because the novel is all David's memory. And so the structure of the adaptation really has a lot of these voices and personalities that he encountered along his journey reemerge in non-reality, but as witnesses to what he's doing, as reminders to him and symbols of those lessons that they give him along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So for those in our audience who are not familiar, what is the story of Giovanni's Room, and who do each of you portray in the story?
The story goes a little something like this. The spoiler alert is that nobody ends up very well. It's kind of tragic in every dimension. But so there's a young American named David, and he's kind of the central character, but I would almost say he's the anti-hero in a way, because he well, you'll see, but he's in Europe. He's on a journey to find himself. He's been in Paris about 2 years, and he considers himself straight, I think. And he's just asked his girlfriend of I think about 2 years, or some amount of time that he's been in Paris. He met this woman named Hella, and he asked her to marry him before the action of the play starts. And one of the mysteries that I don't really know the answer to is she doesn't say yes. She says, I have to think about it. I'm going to go to Spain and think about it. While she's in Spain, David has a little adventure at a bar called Guillaume's. And at Guillaume's bar, where he's sort of, I kind of am the one, my character's name is Jacques. My character kind of like ushers him in. Jacques is an older gay man, and he takes him to this bar it's a gay bar, And at the bar is the Flaming Princess, played by Midge, and the bartender's name is Giovanni. And Giovanni is an
Right.
Italian man, and set they set eyes on each other, and everything starts to tumble from there because he suddenly is deeply and profoundly finding himself falling in Giovanni. And while Helen's still away, they spend, I think, any number of weeks in bed together. They're in love. And David is there. He doesn't have a job, so he's just there in this tiny apartment that they end up sharing. And Giovanni only leaves, I think, to go to work. And they are having this beautiful affair. But then through a series of letters, you learn that Hela's going to come back. And the pressure's on for David to marry her because his father pressuring him to come back and start his real life and this process of what are you doing over there? What are you doing finding it? And so that's where the tragedy starts to happen because he started out of this financial and obviously social pressure in the 1950s. He's like, maybe I can figure out a way to marry Hela and to be with her. And he totally abandons Giovanni. He does some bad things to Giovanni, leaves him, and is with Hela without any word to Giovanni for a month. And then they happen to meet on the street, and everything goes bad from there. And no one ends up happy.
High queer drama.
Well, right. And of the time, I mean, the book, as I recall, was written in 55 and published in 56.
Yeah.
So, very typical of the time, that time when anyone who could be closeted was.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it took a lot of I mean, there have been examples through even way before the 50s where people were kind of lived out loud. And, but I would say the majority of people, there's a real fear of losing a job or not,
Also, right. Because that used to happen.
Yeah.
Regularly.
And again.
Well, some would have us go back there. I have no intention.
Yeah.
But, but it was commonplace. So I'm okay with this being tragedy because it was. Yeah. A lot of it was. And, like Dad saying, time to grow up and leave all that behind. Mm-hmm. It rings. Yeah. Just true. I am also of a certain age.
Yeah. And
this stuff rings true. I know when you said older gay man, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. That's where we are. It's just where we are. Like, yeah. Okay. Why not?
What makes it like feel okay to be a tragedy to me is that it's not a tragedy because they're queer. It's not a tragedy because he is gay. It is a tragedy because he refuses to acknowledge it. And that refusal to admit to yourself who you are and cutting yourself off from happiness is what ends up destroying your own life and all of these lives around you.
Right.
And at the end of the day, he will probably be okay because he has the most going for him going back to America or whatever he wants to do, and everybody in his path is the one that suffers the most.
Yeah. There's a lot of letters throughout the show. And the very last image of the show, which we had to work on as a special effect for a very long time, is that he gets a final letter from Jacques, that he rips up and he throws it away. But there's the end, and the piece of torn letter blow back at him, which is this sort of beautiful idea that you can try to destroy the evidence. You can try to destroy what's happened, and you can try to say, I didn't mess up anyone's life. I didn't lie to anyone, but truth is going to blow back to you. Uh,
Always does.
yeah, yeah. But I think part of what's so heartbreaking and strange about what happens to David is that he ends up lying a lot, and you start seeing through him more and more and more, and just you start to see that those lies are destructive, and him lying to other people, and him lying to us. All of that creating the
And sadly, that's a story that we've seen play out in real life way too many times. People hold on to the lie and it eats you up inside, and it starts to extend out from inside of yourself and affects everything around you and your whole life. Authenticity is the only healthy choice, but unfortunately it's not the available choice for some people.
Yeah. And for some people, it was not encouraged in their families, or how they were raised. So it's real.
Right.
It's a journey to find how to speak authentically.
Which I always think about when people say, you know, hearkening back to the good old days, talking about this time period. If you think about like, not even just queer people, but like how everyone must have been walking around with so much repression all the time. Just like, even like your cishet white folks, like, because there's so many constraints about what is a man, what is a woman, and no one is those things like naturally, really, I don't believe. So it's like, that's what we want. We want to go back to this place of repression and inauthenticity and lying to ourselves. Great.
But the people who want us to go back are the ones that always worked out for, mostly.
Well,
I mean,
It makes sense.
they're having the good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to be nostalgic because it's sort of imaginary. It's sort of like when I think back to a time that is gone, I think it was a great time, but there's no proof that it was a great time. And as you're saying, like, it's a great time for you in your particular
right.
world.
Yeah. I mean, I was really cute in the 80s, but we were scared to death to have sex. We didn't know what the fuck, I mean,
Yeah.
like, we had great music, but yeah.
You can't desire a thing that you have. You can only desire the thing that you either have yet to achieve or the thing that you've lost.
Fair.
Yeah.
There it is.
Fair.
This is true.
I just wanted to say, I love the story of how this kind of came to be, starting in 2008. So it's a 17-year journey, bringing this to the stage. And I love the fact that it looks like eventually Felicia Rashad was involved. How cool is that?
Right.
Yeah. She's creative consultant, I think is her official title on the project.
Word.
Her and Paul Oakley-Stovall, one of the co-adapters and the director, have a close relationship, and we were lucky enough to get to even have a little chat with her in like the last couple previews, in rehearsals, just check in with her and help us through some difficult moments, because some of the language is not modern in its
Right. Gotcha.
point of view. And I think especially Hella has this speech about like, let me be a woman. Let me be your little servant and be your, let me do the things that women are supposed to do, quote unquote. And I'll give up cigarettes. I'll wear my hair long. I'll throw away my books. I will do anything to make this work. Let me be a woman. And not to tell the actor's story for her, but she was having trouble making that make sense today. And Felicia said to let it be poetry. That we've all been in that situation where we want something so badly that we would do anything. We would compromise our own desires and our own morals and our own humanity in order to grasp at this thing that is being pulled away from us. And we mentioned how, like, back in the good old days, quote, how much of the struggle of repression was about masculinity and about femininity. And it's not just a struggle of whether you can be gay or not, but it's also a struggle of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a
Right.
woman. David struggles with his manhood, and in a relationship with another man, he thinks that he's being treated like a woman. And he struggles with that because it's so unfamiliar. And, like, God forbid I get treated like a woman.
Uh-huh.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Because we know how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worst thing you can call someone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey. Mitch, tell me a little bit about your character.
Yeah. Flaming Princess is
Love that name.
which is
Right.
a wonderful name. And that, like, in the novel is not named. They are a denizen of the bar that walks away like a princess, flaming. And that's kind of where
I've done that.
the title comes from.
I know Dito has.
But in the novel, it's a much older character. And it is another kind of wise, been there, I know what you're going through voice. Using he and him and sometimes it in the novel.
Mm.
And but described as having eyes gleaming with mascara and a mouth raging with lipstick and the shirt coquettishly open to reveal a hairless chest. Like, it's and there's descriptions about this character's body being not quite round in the places that you'd think it would be round in the way that they're presenting themselves. And the language didn't exist, but it is a trans person. It is
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's a queen.
It's a queen.
That's the language that existed,
Yeah.
was queen.
Mm-hmm.
And this character in the bar, after she sees, and I'm going to use she, after she sees, sorry, James, not to defy your writing, James Baldwin, but I'm going to use she instead of he. She gives him
Please
a
do.
warning that, like, I see what this little flourishing relationship that is starting, and you're gonna go to hell for the way that you're gonna treat this man. And it's not said so explicitly as you're gonna cause a lot of people harm, but it's a boy like that is dangerous for a boy like you. And you're gonna burn in a very hot fire. And he tells her to go fuck herself. And she says, no, I will be just fine because you can't touch me. And even if he tries to, he gets ready to go at her, and nobody else in that bar is going to let you touch her.
Right. I love that.
And he runs into her on the street later, and she's the one that in public calls him a fag. After he says, you're no girl, you're a freak. And she says, and you are a fag. Not so different.
I feel like I've had this conversation.
Right. I know I have.
So it's interesting because in the novel, she would be an older, wise, kind of seer character. And in our adaptation, this is my understanding, that the wise older character spot was kind of already exists in the adaptation, and you can have multiple of those over hours and hours and hours of a novel, but in a 2-hour play, that role is there. And what is really impactful is David looking and these two characters looking at each other as possible reflections of what their lives could have been, as they're in a very similar spot in life.
Mhm.
And Flaming Princess sees David as, I could have been you. I could have been a beautiful, blonde, handsome man. And I could have been privileged, and there could have been successes in my life. My life could have been easy, just like yours is. But I admitted to myself who I am. Even though my life is harder, my life is worth living now.
Mm-hmm.
And
That part.
I was brave enough to do it, and you are a coward. And because you are a coward, you are going to hurt yourself, and you are going to hurt so many people around you. And
Yeah.
that's so sad.
It is, but that's real
Yeah.
talk.
And
That is real talk.
Yeah, she sees him as, I told you so. I tried to tell you, but nothing more I can do.
I love that. Tell me, was it easy, hard, fun?
It is all of those things.
Okay.
Coming into the process, of course, it was very overwhelming to feel this like weight on my shoulders of not only the words of Baldwin and the pressure doing the novel justice, but also the pressure to do right by my community and our community and represent trans people with dignity, and not as a caricature and not as not a man in a dress and not a joke, but as a
Right.
person with dignity and humanity, and a person that deserves a spot in the world, and a proof that we've always been here. We didn't have the language for it, but we've always been here.
Of course.
And then going into rehearsals, it becomes very fun to then be, oh, so powerful. And feel the flame and the fire in that, and like put on the accent, and suddenly you feel a lot sexier. You feel a lot more
Yes.
powerful.
Okay.
It's a ride.
Okay. Was the part of the character who is still identified as male, how did you deal with that? For you?
Yeah. She does get clocked on the street by another character that is like, what is that? Nosferatu, Phantom of the Opera. And it's about the separation of the character and the actor. That's
Sure.
about being that is taking care of yourself in the rehearsal process, and that's something we had to make a
Yes.
distinction about very early on in our agreements as a community, that like, that is not me. That is how you're treating that person. But the actor that says that on stage, that's my sister. And we're friends. And we're in the same dressing room together. And we giggle and kiki and all of that. So I can protect my humanity person to person, knowing that the character gets treated that way.
No, I love that. And yeah, it's storytelling from a different era. And, that you can do that and do it well. Good for you. I don't know if I could at this point.
I feel
would
like
have a hard time.
Right.
I really would.
I definitely feel like, if you come to the material from that place of honor and respect and authenticity it's going to ring true kind of no matter what happens. So I understand, wanting to make sure that certain things are handled correctly. But when you come from that place of honesty, I feel like that will always come through. You know what I mean?
And Dito, I would be remiss if I didn't bring the other Martha up,
Right.
because you've been known for years as Martha Graham Cracker.
True. It's true.
Um,
From one Martha to another.
yeah. Did she make an appearance from one Martha to another? Did that inform this in any way? You've done it for so long, and you've just got this amazing character that is she's part of you at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I play this character named who, as I said, like is like an elder gay statesman, and in that way, he doesn't. I don't know. He drops wisdom in a way that I hope Martha also does, but he's but he's a businessman. He's wearing a suit. He
Okay.
he's a Belgian guy who works.
I was just trying to fit that in there. I mean, I was just trying to make sure we got Martha into the conversation. So, yeah.
One thing that I love about him that maybe is connected is that he drop these wisdom bombs, but he's witty. Like he says,
Mm-hmm.
he jokes in a very sophisticated way with David, and he very clearly sees David, the main character, and he kind of knows how to both like poke at him and joke with him, and I think he wants to flirt with David and be friends with him, but he also I see how all this lying that I see you doing could be your downfall. So
Right.
it's a fun character because he gets to do a lot of different things. And in his wittiness, I would say he's related to Martha, but in other ways, he's just some dude.
Okay. That's fair.
And it's fun
If
because
I may,
I play both the dad in letters. I write letters to Dave.
Oh, okay.
The one who kind of reinforces what we're expecting is for you to marry a woman so that I can release the money that you keep asking for to you. Because until you married, I don't know what you're doing over there. I'm not going to let you waste your money just traipsing around Europe. So there's this real father figure that is the dad. And then there's this father figure who's just an older gay man who's trying to help lead David through the seedy gay underworld of Paris.
And I gotta say, and I love to tell this story because, some of these folks are still around, like Sandy Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy Beach was a bartender in Atlantic City when I was coming of age.
Wow.
Once I had a driver's license, my cousin and I would go to New York Avenue, and that's where we found community. That was it.
Wow.
And, people like Sis, Sonny, and Sandy, and they looked out for us.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of warned us away from certain people, or they told them, don't leave those kids alone. They were that almost the oracles that kept us alive and said welcome. Nobody got carded back then. If you could get your ass there, come on, come on in.
Yeah.
And it was a real coming of age. And those people really helped shape my understanding of community, because that's just what they did.
Yeah.
Was take care of us and say, they knew we were little idiots, and they did their best to make sure we stayed alive that night.
Yeah. That's I'm performing in Atlantic City, July 5th. At a place,
Are you?
a place called the Anchor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think that's also on New York.
I don't know that Is it really? I went there in the daytime not that long ago, and I thought, Jesus Christ, it's a parking lot now. It was a gayborhood. I mean, it was, New York Avenue was queer as fuck.
Yeah.
And, you know, we had Studio 6, which was apparently Studio 5 before that. And, you know, there were 2 hotels. One was the Chester. Can't for the life of me remember the other one. And the Rendezvous and the Brass Rail. You know, it was, there was so much community because
I miss the clever bar names.
they were. And the men who were looking for the company of other men didn't have the internet.
Right.
So all of those bars were packed on the weekend.
Yeah, 'cause that was the one way to meet other people. Yeah.
Right. That was it. That was how we found community. That was how we found one another.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I remember being mesmerized by the young trans girls who would, you know, kind of come out to the drag shows and hang out. And I was just drawn to them because, like, how are you having all this courage, you know, in 1983 or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, that is the thing that I miss about those spaces. Like, you know, I'm coming up we're talking the mid 90s, but, you know, you still had that space for community and safety that existed. And I can't but imagine what it would have been like in the 50s when it was literally a place of refuge. And that whole aspect of the queer community is all but gone because, you know, as I'm fond of saying, you can just pick up your phone and order dick like pizza. So why do you need to even leave the house? You know?
Yeah.
And that's what happens now. I mean, it happens. And, you know, a big focus of everything I do is community building, you know, again.
Yeah.
Because I think we need, it's one of the things I feel so strongly that we need is to know each other.
Yeah, more than
again. And to find that common ground. You know, I've been doing Transway forever with Elizabeth Coffey Williams. And, you know, she was a John Waters actress. She runs Transway with me. And, you know, she talks about going down to Baltimore, advocating for herself at Johns Hopkins. And, you know, when I got to meet John Waters, we talked about exactly that. We didn't have all these words. You know, we liked each other. We saw another queer, well, come on over. And he said, you know, and we figured out what to do. And I'm like, I know. There are very many categories now, but, you know, so we can wax nostalgic, but then we can also say the words help us to know one another better.
Right.
And with more clarity. So it was this great discussion to have about just how community came together. And, you know, that was the early 70s. Again, my era started in the early 80s, but it was so similar.
Yeah.
You know, because we didn't talk about it in high school. Nobody was out, at least in my little high school in South Jersey. Nobody.
Not on purpose, anyway.
Not as anything. Right. If you were outed, it was because somebody told. But that was the time. And so when we found each other, we found each other. And, you know, so many friendships that we still have from that time. The ones that are still with us.
Mm.
And that's a question that I have, you know, because this work is a period piece. It is a window into a certain time, place, and mindset. And so, like, how familiar and how foreign were parts of how was it getting into this mindset of the characters to be in this place that is so restrictive yet freeing and colorful and vibrant yet, you know, terrifying?
I don't know.
I think it was a bigger learning opportunity for the members of the cast that aren't queer.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, I'm sure.
Always.
I mean, it sounds silly, but like one of the first kind of exercises we did early on was like kind of cruising each other in a way of just not being afraid to hold eye contact with each other and say a lot with very little and make those connections navigating through the space together, and how the only way to, when you can't just safely say it out loud, the only way to make a connection and show interest is in your body and your mannerisms and in eye contact. And they've like said cruising, and the one actor was just, what?
Right.
What?
And we're like,
Right.
okay.
But my
all
car's
right, let's
way
back
up
up a little bit. All right. Do a little bit of Queer 101. All right. And move on.
Yeah.
You don't think of what a foreign concept that probably is to straight people.
Right.
Mhm.
What do you mean?
Not to mention, I imagine, like, with actors, it's probably not as big of a deal, but like, no shade, when you're dealing with people of a certain age, maintaining eye contact is like a whole thing. Because I've often said, you want to like take down a 30-year-old, look him in the eye and don't look away. You know what I'm saying? So I imagine like that in itself was an exercise in courage.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah, Dito, you didn't get to answer.
well, I was thinking about when I was coming up in the early to mid 90s. We had a name for it, which it was called 1, 2, 3, look. It was always like passing each other, look, and usually like the count was 1, 2, 3, look. Or you're like, oh no, they didn't look. I was alone. But yeah, that
Right.
when I would be walking out on the streets for no reason, and you pass someone and you both look back. That was Grinder. That was like, oh,
That was Grinder.
it was like,
Yep.
Then you have to decide how badly you need to go in this direction.
Yeah, I don't ever mean to suggest we had more decorum. I just mean things happened differently. That's really all
it
I
wasn't
meant.
like you couldn't like take all your best photographs and post them up and be like, here, order this pizza. It was just like, oh, happening in real time. Actually see you are more.
Right.
But anyway, I was going to just mention our fantastic costume designer. Her name is Colleen, and one of the things that she did, and I remember her, before we met her, she sent all these photographs of her kind of reference points for each one of our characters. And I felt like that was a really helpful kind of gallery for each one of us to be like, oh yeah. And a lot of them she took from Talented Mr. Ripley, if you saw that movie. The Talented Mr. Ripley with
Work. Okay.
and, Matt Damon. Anyway, there's that, because that's sort of the same time period, and also closetedness. So yeah, she had photographs or reference points for each one of our characters, and that was really helpful in terms of getting a window into that world, that era.
Yeah, I hear all the time, like you look at yourself in the costume, and then all of a sudden that last little piece of the puzzle for the character locks into place. Like, oh, there they are.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, so many of those elements that non-theater people don't even think about that are part of the storytelling.
Yeah.
The costumes, the lighting,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes so minimal backdrop, but we're always storytelling. I love it. I always love it.
Yeah, and there's a magical, not to give it away, but I think in the set design, there's an incredible piece that doubles as a bed in Giovanni's room. and the bar in both bars that they visit. So it's this really because it wasn't a very big theater. It's kind of small, so it elegant kind of doubling
Yeah.
that that I think really makes the most of this one piece that has wheels and brakes. It's actually kind of an amazingly tricked piece, but it can be tipped up to be the bar and go down to be the bed, and that's cool.
I love that.
That is one thing that I'm looking forward to seeing how the space is used. Because we were there once before. We saw a production of Othello.
Okay. That's what I thought.
And that was a very minimal, which you can get
It was
away
an
with.
all gay Othello.
All male Othello.
All male Othello,
right.
excuse me. Well, and pretty fucking gay.
It was it was different than what I was expecting, because when I read an all male Othello set against the military in the
90s, wasn't it? Or was it?
I think it was earlier than that.
Okay.
I conjured up a different backdrop than
what, right.
What they meant was basically like a traditional performance of Shakespeare, in which the men also played the women characters, which was also fabulous, just a little different than what I was expecting.
It's no different.
How important to each of you is the retelling of queer history today?
So important. I mean, I think of, having come up in the 90s, I think of the generation that lived through the beginning of the AIDS crisis as really like these saints that the word is not just inspired. I sort of am in awe of that strength and that ability to withstand the political climate, the the crisis of mortality that's happening all around you, the number of funerals that they would attend any given month,
Week, yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one example, but that first generation with the AIDS crisis, I think of as my heroes and maybe my angels. And
Yeah.
I have other gay icons in other eras. Federico Garcia Lorca was a poet in Spain, and he was shot at the beginning of the fascist regime there, both for being outspoken liberal and for being gay. So yeah, it's so important to know how this all happened and how we got to the perhaps tenuous, but like much more the firmer that we're on now. I think. Oh, it didn't happen magic.
Fair. No, it didn't. And I always say when someone says these kids today, I'm like, we raised brats in one fucking generation. Who else can say that? Good. And good. I want you to have a sense of entitlement. I want you to have a sense of place. I want you to know that you belong. Midge, you said that, that idea, and it hit with me because you talked about not a man in a dress and being taken seriously and not being a joke was probably the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
That was what I was most afraid of, was being a joke, was losing all sense of place in this world or voice in this world because I saw so much erasure. And, we have to deal with that. We got to peel back those fucking layers.
Yeah.
To come to, our sense of selves. And part of it is history. Part of it is knowing it. Part of it is understanding, what came before.
Yeah. And in retelling these stories, it's so important to show the ugly parts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
like I admit to getting scared of like, what if they see an imperfect version of our community? They're going to think that we're, and it's like, well, but we're humans who are all flawed, and we can tell a story about people that make mistakes and do shitty things to each other without having to like pause it and comment about like just a reminder that this is not an okay thing to do. We can have enough media literacy to understand like that is a person behaving badly and I'm supposed to condemn it.
The views of this homosexual are
not
theirs and theirs
representative of all
alone.
homosexuals.
Somebody asked me one day, it was one of those stupid, pointless conversation with someone. And they said to me, what about Folsom? Meaning the street fair. And I was like, I looked at them like, I said, what about serial killers? You first. What the fuck?
Since we're just like saying random
Since
shit
we're saying
right
random
now.
shit, right. But it's like whatever someone perceives as the worst stuff.
Oh no,
and that
a
is how
group
prejudice
of all
works.
consenting people that are agreeing to be there where there are all adults that are consenting
Right.
to be in this environment. Oh no.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was in that person's mind. That was like debauchery and the worst thing they could think about, I guess at the moment. And I'm like, what? What are you doing? But that is what people do is, we're all supposed to answer for our biggest mess, but it doesn't work in the reverse. And I still want to know why.
Chaw.
Like,
Well, and then you figure like they love to boil down the queer community to anatomy and sex acts.
mm-hmm.
To which, like, now my response is, oh, do you cease to become straight the moment after you come? Is that how this works? Like, but because they have...
It sometimes works in reverse.
I wasn't going to say
it. But if your entire way of being is encapsulated by a sex act, then you start thinking about all the different kinds of sex acts and what's the worst kind and this whole like thing of like what makes a queer person is built up of A, shit that's not any of your business, B, things that probably don't actually exist except because of the internet probably do now. But it's just crazy. We have this puritanical view of what makes a good person and what makes a bad person. And I really wish we could get to this place where, for instance, public figures can't be toppled because they had sex with someone. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's really crazy the way our fear of sex, our fear of enjoyment.
Yeah. Well, back to
Mhm.
the whole Folsom comment, it's like if you define a community by the type of sex they're having, then that community is also going to start defining itself in more nuanced ways by the type of sex they're having. And if you
Fair.
make sexuality the entire identity of a group of people, then they're going to find ways to make you look at it as a much more interesting, colorful thing than what you think it is.
Which
Fair.
can also be a beautiful thing. Like, that's how we get folks walking around in broad daylight with leather dog masks and butt plugs with tails coming out of them as they walk down the street.
Right.
We are nothing if not creative.
Hey, and straight people, you can try it. You might like it.
That part, and that's what scares the hell out of them.
I wish I could remember who first said that straight people have way more gay sex than gay people because there's more of them. And I went,
Yeah,
it's true.
There's more straight butts to do butt stuff with.
Anyway,
No
that took
blood
us
is entirely.
I don't think so. I know, right? They say we think everyone's gay, and I'm like, well, there's spaghetti straight, you know. There's
What's spaghetti?
This is
straight?
true.
they are straight until you heat it up. Spaghetti, you know, you boil it.
Oh, yeah. I feel
Yeah.
slow. I didn't know that.
Sorry, spaghetti straight. I, you know,
Spaghetti straight.
I love that. I love that this is happening. I love that it's happening. I want to see more of, you know, this kind of work. Treated with respect.
Right.
Treated with, you know, queer people telling queer stories. So important.
Indeed.
Not that there can't be straight cast members, obviously, but
Well, I think that's great because, you know, the best way to come to a place of agreement and empathy is to step inside the shoes of another person and get a different viewpoint. And if more and more people would just be willing to do that, can you imagine the world that we would be living in?
Yeah.
Not this one.
And if
Not this
we're
one.
going to use some argument that only gay people can play gay people, all of that, I'll let you have that for a moment and counter it with both David and Giovanni are characters that at one time claimed to be straight.
of course.
Giovanni had a girl, he had a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers abound. David
Right.
claims to be straight, has a fiance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
actually, it's a more authentic way to tell the story to have these, in a way, to have these characters played by straight men that just so happen to experience some of the magic they might have missed.
And in this instance, I agree
Yeah.
with you.
And that's a thing. Like, obviously, it wouldn't work with this particular time period. But just like I watch a movie that takes place in the 80s, and I'll sit there and go, you know, if they had a cell phone, this movie would be 3 minutes long. Just like I look at certain situations and I go, if we would just admit the bisexuality
That
exists,
part.
this whole story would be irrelevant.
Right. Well, it would. And
Yeah.
I think queer people have to be very involved in queer storytelling. How's that?
Yes, absolutely.
It's essential, and I can point to it from 3 miles away when they're not. Like,
Well, and it's
nobody would say
a
that.
black gay man is our director, and another gay man is another co-adapter. Like, and there are lots of queer people on the creative team that are overseeing this telling. And we'll allow an ally in there every once in a while if we have to.
If we have to.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It'd be very weird for this. I was trying to imagine this play being directed by a straight man, and I'm like, oh, that would be so different.
Right.
Ugh.
Part of why I think the David and Giovanni romance feels so legitimate is because they were sort of guided through that by the director.
Right. I mean, that's just where I get hung up. What was the one? I'm still annoyed. The Whale.
I was waiting for it.
The Whale. First of all, we could not find a gay man of size. Really? I mean, come on. And it was the acceptance speech that got me. Because what Brendan Fraser tried to say was, this is universal storytelling. No, the fuck it is not. Not one of you have ever lost your job because of who you are. Not one of you have ever lost your family because of who you are. And until and unless, no, this is queer storytelling, my dear. And the fact that you don't know that is why you shouldn't have had the role.
I mean, that's my thing. Like, I'm not saying that straight actors should never get to play
I'm not
queer
either.
roles. However, queer folks should always get right of first refusal. Bam, period.
That and again, it takes kind of everybody. I don't like seeing, trans characters portrayed by cis people without trans people right there, at least. Right. I don't like it. And again, there's enough of us that it shouldn't be impossible to let us tell our story. You find our stories so fascinating, but you don't want us telling them. The fuck is that? Right? So we have to make sure they're told.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Right? And that's what I think is happening here. Yeah.
And thank goodness.
It comes back to authenticity.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, not only does authenticity come across loud and clear, so does the lack of it. Even more so.
Right.
It just... Yeah. Like, I was in a short film a couple years ago, and my character was queer as well. And there was like one little line of dialogue. And I had to I told us that I'm changing this line because I wouldn't say that. They wouldn't say that. Like, when does this take place? Yeah, no one's going to say that right now.
Right.
You need that reality. Otherwise, that's where caricature comes in.
Yep.
We went to a production of Kinky Boots.
Oh, that.
And
it was unfortunate. In the way
gay minstrel was the term we walked away with.
Yeah.
The choreography, even the choreography, it's like, have you met a queer person ever in your life? They literally had people walking across the stage going.
It was a local production.
I'm not exaggerating.
Not the Nogue.
Yeah.
Straight up,
right.
And I'm sitting there twitching, and then I look over at her, and you were all but rocking back and forth. I don't know how the second act was.
For the audio listeners at home, that was your double yo-yo, if you will.
Right.
Right.
There it is.
Double yo-yo.
The double yo-yo. It just happened.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, we had gone to a talkback, and it was meant to be a talkback, of a one-woman show that was still very much in the writing. And, I said to the director, a woman would never have said that. You wrote, actually the writer. Mm-hmm. I said, you need a woman to check that dialogue, because there is not a woman who would focus where you focused in that entire monologue.
Yeah.
And the actress went, and I hope it is now better. But it was just like that, the part of the story you thought was important was from a male perspective.
Yeah.
That, and it rang inauthentically.
Yeah. I mean, this is true for writing trans characters as well, that I've definitely read roles that are trans women that were pretty obviously not written by a trans woman. They were written by a trans masculine person, because it is a different experience. Yes, we are in community and we share a lot of the same struggles, but there's also stuff that is just not the same. And the things that trans women experience are very different than the things that trans men experience. And you can tell that you are writing about an experience that you do not understand, even if you want to. And we appreciate that you're trying and giving us the representation, but also, when I tell you, I don't think that's what a trans woman would be so worried about. I think there's some other stuff that would be more important. I need you to listen to me and be willing to understand that.
That's the sticking point
Yeah.
right there. We need to listen to each other because we get caught up in our own egos and like, well, I know what I'm doing, but do you? And
Right.
it looks like you ain't got no friends. You know what I mean? Like no one to tell you, you know, to steer you. And we need to be able to listen to each other if we're going to be able to tell or experience each other's stories.
Can I get an amen?
Yeah.
I find it's always so fascinating and so complicated because here we are, we're doing a play written, or we're telling the story that is ostensibly only with white characters, written by a black man. So it's also like, you could say like, how well is he going to tell this story? And I do think there's, it's free and complicated, and you, of course, and I don't want to live in a world where people can only write about their own experience. But again,
Sure.
I think it's about the amount of research, the amount of care, the amount of listening, as you said, that goes into the storytelling.
Right. And you can always, like, there's a difference between being well-meaning and being respectful. You can always tell when someone is coming from a well-meaning place because it's like, okay, that was cute. But when it comes from a respectful place, you want to be like, oh, damn, you do have queer friends. You do have black friends because that was real. And, I'm not going to, and I'm not going to pretend that when I first saw that Giovanni's Room was coming, that, when I clicked on the promo trailer and I saw the cast, I was like, huh. So I immediately did a little research as to who was behind the scenes, and I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
I'm good again.
There you go. There you go.
I trust. I mean, I trust Quintessence anyway, but
Yeah.
I gotta check.
Yeah, I mean, this came up we had a talk back last night at time of recording, and also in the audience was a book club. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a book club of mostly black men. And one man asked, like, what was it like to be speaking as as white actors, speaking the words of a black man? And the answer that I had was that white people often write characters that are white by default.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes sometimes an outsider's view of whiteness to very specifically and intentionally write white characters that bring it would be a much different story if David was not white. The experience of privilege and white exceptionalism, American exceptionalism, it would be a very different story if David was not a white man.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, James Baldwin, if he was anything, he was a mirror. He held a mirror up to white America at the time. And, pointedly and, with great use of the language, insisted we take another look and then another look.
Yeah. I have it written next to me, but I was rereading the introduction to the novel last night after the talkback, and it talks about Baldwin being incredibly intentional about making this a story about sexuality and not about Baldwin's blackness. As intended to make people focus more and not attribute people's actions to race rather than sexuality. I'm not doing it justice. Everybody go read it for yourself.
Sure.
But I just found it fascinating to think about how intentional every little choice is in the novel.
Yeah, and I imagine it would be easier to view the text in that way now than then. Just because we have more of an idea of intersectionality now. Not enough people, but it's beside the point. But yeah, I was actually sitting here thinking, like, you need it. It's interesting, like, who could write for white characters better than a non-white person? Because no one, ironically, white people understand whiteness the least.
Yep.
It's true.
So yeah, that's I just thought.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we started this podcast was because of the conversations we've always had as a couple. I mean, and they're the same ones we had when we were friends for 10 years before we finally pulled it together. When we would check in, we would read or hear or see a story and say, I don't know how to process this. Talk to me and talk about how you're seeing this, or how does this feel? Because I don't know.
Right.
And it's happened so often. We were like, we're kind of interesting in that. So let's set a microphone in front of us and see what happens.
Right. Because I might get a visceral reaction about something, right, but I might be projecting my own feelings onto it. So I'll ask her and she'll be like, well, yes, but no. You know what I mean? That's we got to talk to each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's the thing we try to do the most. I want to ask each of you in just a couple of words. We will be seeing the play tomorrow night. And so when this comes out, we'll talk about it a little bit for the episode. What do you want me to leave with? Dito?
Ooh. I always have trouble with this question because I'm always like, I would not want to prescribe to you what you would leave with.
Okay, how about, what do you want me to not miss? Is that a better question?
Okay. I think it's it goes back to a little bit what we were talking about before. It's about the sinister nature of lying to yourself and lying to others, and how those are related, and how this story, speaking of how this could have been prevented, like, there's a story where the lying brings everyone to the downfall that you'll see. But so yeah, I think it's a story I wouldn't want you to miss. This is a story about someone who lies in a very particular circumstance. And in a weird way, I don't think of him as a villain, because I think it's the time that he was living in, and also we've all lied before. So to me, it's it's like, in the way that all tragedies are a little bit warnings as a human. Reminder, it's like, oh, the danger of not speaking the truth to yourself and not speaking the truth to other people.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It can hurt those involved or destroy a person from the inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to be looking for that, Midge. Either question.
I'm going to stick with what do I want you to leave with?
Yes.
And I would say I do not want you to leave necessarily with empathy, but I want you to leave with understanding. I don't want you to empathize with David. because he does very bad things. But I want you to leave with an understanding of what leads a person to behave that way and to make the decisions that he makes. And with that understanding and ability to recognize maybe that tendency in ourselves, and that's the best way to stop ourselves from making the same mistakes.
Work.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, again, Giovanni's Room, right? Through the 29th of June. We're going to get this episode out as quickly as we can.
I'm excited.
And hopefully, send some folks your way. I want to thank you both for taking this time with us.
Yes.
Thank you for having us. It's
Always.
been such a lovely privilege to be here.
Hey, come back. Keep us informed. Anytime.
Right.
Yeah.
Anytime.
We can talk about other stuff.
We can. We can.
And hey, bring your straight friends.
That
Come
part.
see the show and bring your straight friends.
Yes.
I want to hear them.
But I was going to say, I'm curious to hear what you said.
Also, we can hear you in the audience and we want to.
Yes.
Hoot, holler, giggle, gasp.
Okay.
Don't be polite. We want to hear it.
Oh,
right,
see,
then.
you done messed up because that's the kind of theater goer I am.
Truly.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
And, have a blessed day. And we will hopefully see you after the show.
Yes.
Thank you.
Toodaloo.
Bye.
Blown away.
Right.
Blown away. James Baldwin's work in Giovanni's Room is not light.
No.
That needs to be said.
As soon as the final cue and blackout hit, I believe I said to you, yeah, Giovanni's Room is not a laugh riot.
No, it is not. And it's not meant to be.
Right. I mean, I knew that going in. But...
Of course we did. There's a couple pieces I forgot from the book and was reminded of. But I'm going to say, as an adaptation, brilliant work.
I admittedly have never read Giovanni's Room in its completion.
I did, but it's been so long ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I've read chunks. I know the plot. I know what happens.
Right.
I know what it's about. But that's not the same as seeing it come to life on the stage. And it was very cleverly done, I believe is what I said.
Yes. Oh, the staging.
Yeah.
Was amazing. There was some really fun work there in terms of staging, in terms,
The acting was phenomenal.
They used everything to tell the story. Yes, and the acting was really good, just good.
Dito and Midge were fabulous.
They were. I loved both of their characters. They were like, the queer truth tellers. They were the oracles.
Actually, not even both their characters, because they both played like...
They played
at least two each.
Dito did.
Yeah.
I believe Midge...
I thought she played a second character.
No, I think Midge only played...
Oh, okay.
That character through the show. At any rate, well staged, well done, worth seeing.
Definitely.
There's a reason it is sold out until the last week of June. There are tickets available now for the final week, and get one.
I love the way they were able to both just put the text in its like full form on stage, as well as perform the action. Like it's the way it was done was organic and not pretentious, because it could easily end up going that way, because James Baldwin can lean up against pretentious in his writing style a little bit.
Okay.
So I think the way they
Well, wicked, smart, and annoyed often reads that way.
I mean, it's brilliant work regardless, but I'm just saying.
No, it was handled as well, I think, as it possibly could have. I mean, Felicia Rashad was a contributor.
Yes.
I think every aspect of this was respected. James Baldwin's work, his intent, and his storytelling,
yes,
was respected. And it's not. Parts of it are not easy to watch.
Nor were they meant to be.
But
right.
The 1950s were not easy to live in if you were queer.
Right.
And struggling with all of the societal pressure that came with the time. So, I think we feel that tension. I think we feel that.
Right. You feel the repression, the angst. It was sexy. It felt dangerous. I love how the character of Hella, she's not stupid.
No, she's not stupid. I mean, she's not.
Far from that, actually.
Right. But
I mean, in terms of like as a woman, she's brilliant.
Right.
But I mean, in terms of like as a straight woman marrying this man, she wasn't dumb. She knew it was up.
Well, and the actors talked about that, how she came into character, because it was hard to say the words the character said,
right.
In 2025. These were 1950s words about womanhood.
Right.
And yet, the portrayal was brilliant. Yeah. It was really good. It was really good. I love seeing his work come to life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the dancerliness.
It was almost a dance.
Yeah, the way certain moments were handled physically, it was very choreographed almost. And I said it wouldn't have surprised me if at any moment someone just like broke out into a full-on solo, like a dream ballet kind of moment.
It could have happened.
It would have fit.
Yeah, it would have fit. There were a couple of brilliant staging moments that just, it was like, oh, all right, I see what you did.
So we definitely recommend you have until the 29th
of
June to get your tickets, which are going very, very quickly, to see Giovanni's Room by Quintessence Theater at the Cedric Theater in Germantown, Philadelphia.
Yes, our huge thanks to Quintessence for inviting us, for Dito and Midge for sharing their time with us, and I really do hope you go out and see what we saw, because it's worth the trip.
Indeed.
Thanks, show.
Bye, everyone. Full Circle is a Never Scared Productions podcast, hosted by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal, produced and edited by Never Scared, executive produced by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. Our theme and music is by the Jingleberries. All names, pictures, music, audio, and video clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.